I suppose this comes down to my like naivety, and especially as someone who studied psychology at university within my degree. So I studied like a certain part of it, which was social psychology, which deals with stuff like mood swings, anger, people's brains being wired. But I've always struggled with this idea of someone having a past trauma that is unrelatable, and then us connecting that to the final outcome, which is, for example, an addiction to pornography, right? Because I imagine there might be people listening who say, oh, I have the problem that you guys are talking about, but I have zero trauma that I can pick up on. So I suppose what my question is that always the case, or is it like a subjective, like each case is just completely different, and you have to, at my Tazkiyah, you're having a conversation, you're trying to figure it out? Is there sometimes no underlying issue in terms of trauma, and really it's just, I suppose, having become addicted because of temptation and because of, like we were saying, the fitrah and stuff?
Unfortunately, what is, bro, everyone has their own journey, everyone's different. So I deal with brothers who have unresolved issues with their father only by going through it with someone. It's like you need a mirror sometimes, right? And then you find out the deeper underlying issues. And some people may have, one brother may have issues with his father. Another brother will have issues about fantasies, right? Just, wanting to be something, wanting to be someone famous, so on. And another brother, for instance, I'll give you an example of trauma. So some brothers report, sexual abuse, physical abuse. And there's one brother I dealt with, he was, part of gangs and so on. So he lived that lifestyle involving drugs, zina, drug dealing, whatever it may be, right? But alhamdulillah, Allah guided him, right? And Allah's the controller of hearts, right? Allah's the one who guides, right? So he came on deen and he felt that sweetness of iman, and he was sober for a year, right? So he told me he was sober for a year from everything, even pornography. But what happened in that period, right? After a year, he relapsed with pornography. He watched pornography, and then it became a problem after a couple of months, years. And I asked him what was going on in that year when you started practicing Islam. And he said, I left my previous lifestyle and I had this beautiful relationship with Allah, right? Allah. I knew Allah's got me. No matter what problems or trials I was facing, I could walk the streets fearless. And you'll mention verses of the Quran, like no one can harm, no one can benefit other than Allah, right? Everything is decreed, right, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why, he was developing that relationship, he was nurturing it. And what happened after a year, he got back into work and so on, life stresses came back, right? So he relapsed. And then after going through some sessions with him, I realized that, his old conditioning was coming back. I would ask him questions about his thought patterns, what is he feeling? And he said, I would think that I'm going to see someone from my past and get into a situation. He'll start interpreting. So he's been through some difficult situations, life-threatening situations, obviously because he was involved in gangs, violence. So he would start interpreting that into his working life, into his family life. And that's how the conditioning, it will sometimes switch itself up. And what are we talking about here? Ultimately, we're talking about our qareen. And we can give it different names, the inner addict, last one we're dealing with this addiction. And the qareen, it will switch forms. Right? Before, it was a problem where he was going and he was escaping his whatever traumas he was suffering from. He was escaping it through drugs, alcohol, and then he found the real solution, right? That God hole that he was trying to fill with drugs, with alcohol, with zina. He found the real solution. And that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, "Ala bi zikrillahi tatma'innul qulub," that verily in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find tranquility. So he started practicing, and he found the real solution to all his problems. But what happened? He didn't nurture that relationship. It worked for him. Again, what he was doing in early practicing years, he was in a masjid a lot, attending lectures, around good company, and that was helping him to nurture and develop that relationship. And that's what even the Prophet ﷺ told us, right? He said, make this dua, Ya muqallib al-qulub, sabit qulubana ala dinik, that, oh controller of hearts, keep our hearts firm on your deen, on your way. So this is another aspect to the problems that drive people to escapism. Alhamdulillah, this brother's sober for probably over about 3 years now, 2-3 years. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, because he's renewed that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that trust and tawakkul in him.